welcome into Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, who will be a breakout player for the Texans going into next season? PFF has an idea of somebody, and I think I might agree with them. We'll get into that and another mock draft from the NFL Network. I'll break down who they think the Texans are going to take in the first round. But last day of January, I just want to thank everybody who's joined along for the journey this whole season, now going into the offseason and making us the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube. And I just want to let y'all know this. We are 50 subs away from a channel record for most subscribers gained in a single month. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Go to youtube.com/TexansTV. Daily Texans videos, more live shows to come, absolutely free. My plea to you, give me 1 week. Hit that sub button. If you don't like it, go ahead and unsubscribe. But let me prove to you why this should be your channel for Texans news and rumors. Now, getting right into today's show, PFF named Brevin Jordan as the Texans breakout player for 2024, the 2024-2025 season, on who they think is really going to shine next year. And, you know, Brevin Jordan really showed out towards the end of the year. Obviously, we all know the longest catch in Texans playoff, or the longest touchdown catch in Texans playoff history, with that amazing catch that he had against the Cleveland Browns, just sprinting past the entire defense. But this season, throughout the year, throughout the regular season, not as efficient as you would like to see out of a tight end one. Only 17 receptions, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a long of 27 during the regular season. But this kid out of Miami shows a lot of promise. 6'3", 245 pounds. This is what PFF had to say about Brevin Jordan. Jordan didn't get a ton of opportunities this season, but when he did, he was able to step up and post some inspiring numbers, including 1.89 yards per route run, which was tied for 6th most among tight ends who had at least 150 routes, including through the divisional round. Jordan earned the 4th highest receiving grade on the team, ahead of Dalton Schultz, a pending free agent, and could find himself in a larger role in 2024. So there's PFF kind of alluding to the fact that could Brevin Jordan be the starting tight end for the Houston Texans next season? Well, I'm going to leave it to you. What do you have to say about this? Do you think Jordan can be the Texans tight end 1 next season? Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comment section. This is actually going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if a YouTube ad break plays, it's all good. Go down and give me your answer. Do you really think Brevin Jordan can be the Texans' top tight end going into next season? Yes, but I still think you have to add somebody. I still think you'll need to, get another guy in that room. Maybe you can have Brevin Jordan slotted in as your tight end 1 going into next year, but I still think you need to add another tight end either via free agency, either bringing Dalton Schultz back or bringing another free agent in, or draft the tight end in this year's draft. Now, we do have Tegan Quitoriano on the roster, who was dealing with a groin injury this year, was not really able to play, only had 2 receptions, was hurt the entire year. So, depending on his development and how he's able to get back onto the football field, that could be an option in your tight end room. And the Texans already did sign tight end Dalton Keene to a futures contract. They picked him up mid-season this year, a 3rd-round pick in 2022 for the New England Patriots, but really hasn't done anything in the NFL. 6'4", 251 out of Virginia Tech. So not a lot of inspiring options on the Texans roster right now past Brevin Jordan, really depending on how Quitoriano comes back and his health going into the next season. But for tight ends in free agency, Dalton Schultz might be the best one. I mean, it's him and Noah Fant, in my opinion, at 1 and 2, and then a huge tier break. You have Hunter Henry, who went to the Patriots and didn't do as well as expected in that offense. Gerald Everett has been a guy who's kind of bounced around here and there and has done well in stints. Adam Troutman for the Broncos did pretty good this past season. Austin Hooper was more the backup option on the Raiders this past year. Mike Gesicki, another guy who went to New England thinking that they'd get that Rob Gronkowski kind of touch, and that just didn't happen. And then the 8th guy, I had to throw somebody else in there, would be Robert Tonyan. But as you see, Dalton Schultz, probably the best tight end in free agency this year, along with Noah Fant. And then as it goes into draft prospects, obviously, Brock Bowers. the number one tight end prospect in this year's draft, an amazing, amazing talent. If somehow he falls and the Texans are able to get Brock Bowers, I would absolutely love it. You know, if he even fell into the teens and the Texans were able to trade up for him, I wouldn't mind that because I think he's that special of a tight end. You also have Jatavian Sanders, who, if you're picking early in the second round, I think he's a great option as well. Also, you have Eric All from Iowa, pretty good. Kate Stover from Ohio State, also pretty good. And a sneaky name to look at. Another former Longhorn who spent his last couple of years at TCU is Jared Wiley, who's a monster of a human being. 6'7", massive tight end. That could be an option in the mid to late rounds if you're looking for a tight end for the Houston Texans in this year's draft. Now, I kind of gave my 2 cents on, I think the Texans should end up adding a tight end, whether that be in free agency or the draft this offseason. But after I kind of showed you the options there, what would you do? Would you add one in free agency or would you add one in the NFL draft? Let me know. Either free agency or the draft, which way would you add another tight end this offseason? Or do you think we're good? You can type "we're good" if you think that we're good with Brevin Jordan, Tegan Quatoriano, and company, Dalton Keene, and whoever else the Texans have on their roster right now. But I really do think the Texans should go ahead and draft a tight end. There's a lot of good options in this year's draft. I wouldn't mind that, or bringing back Dalton Schultz if he's willing to come back on a team-friendly contract and not break the bank. And speaking of break the bank, Producer Tex, you don't have to break the bank either whenever you go to our sponsor of today's show, Fanatics, and you go to chatsports.com/TexansSale, because all the items I'm showing you right here are on sale. I'm a huge bargain shopper. I'm always looking for the best deals, and I found them for you. So if you go to chatsports.com/TexansSale, all these items are on sale right now. The decal, I believe, was $3. If you're looking for a cheap option to get your friend, to get your son, to get whoever for their birthday, they're a huge Texans fan, if you just want to be nice, go out and get one of these items. They're all on sale right now with our friends over at Fanatics. Just go to chatsports.com/TexansSale. That link's going to be in the comment section and the description of today's video. Go check them out. Even if you just want to peruse, go a little window shopping, just see what they have on sale, see what the prices are going into the offseason, because like quarter zips like this, now that it's about to be summertime, those are going to go on sale and be even cheaper. You just stash that away for the winter months, and hey, you have a dope Texans quarter zip that you got on sale. So go check them out today, chatsports.com/TexansSale. Now, going into the second half of today's show, a new NFL mock draft dropped, which you're going to be hearing me saying that a ton this offseason. We're starting to get into draft season. I know we have free agency first, but once we get closer and closer to the draft, there's going to be a new mock out almost every day. I'm going to make a mock as well. I'm going to be making some Texans mock drafts. Spoiler alert. But in the latest Bucky Brooks mock draft, I was kind of interested in who he picked. And he had the Texans selecting in the first round Troy Fautanu out of Washington, the offensive tackle / guard who played very well this past season. Only 2 sacks allowed and a PFF grade of 75 overall. This is what Bucky Brooks had to say about the Texans picking Fautanu. With C.J. Stroud blossoming into a franchise quarterback, the Texans must make a concerted effort to keep him protected, Brooks wrote. Fautanu would give the team the flexibility to reshuffle the O-line and put its 5 best pass protectors in front of the emerging superstar. And if you're talking about pass protection, that's where Troy Fautanu really shined this past year. And you look at the overall grade of 75, a pass block grade of 88.2, and a run block grade of 61.9. But what if I told you the Washington offense this year actually threw the ball on 70% of their plays? So they were throwing a ton this year, and he still had a very high pass block grade. That should show you something. If they're throwing the ball a ton this year, which they did with the receiving core they had with Roma Dunze and Michael Penix slinging the ball back there, Troy Fautanu was on his game this year, helping Washington make it all the way to the college football playoffs. So, after seeing what Bucky Brooks had to say, after seeing those numbers from PFF this past season, go down and grade the pick. Give it an A, B, C, D, or F. If on draft day, Goodell went up, and we all booed him, as we should. You boo Goodell when he goes up on stage. But if he went out there and said, with the 23rd pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Troy Fautanu, what grade would you give it? A, B, C, D, or F? I'd give this grade an A. And it's simply because my philosophy and what I really want to see from this Texans team this offseason, don't get me wrong, I love the skill position guys. Nico Collins, Tank Dell. I still think the Texans should go out in free agency and maybe get a Mike Evans. But in this league, you win in the trenches. You win in the trenches. That's how the Texans lost against the Ravens. The offensive line struggled. The defensive line struggled. So if you can win in the trenches, I want the Texans to build up this O-line and build up this D-line. And I know the Texans have already spent a ton of draft capital, a lot of their resources the past couple off seasons in getting offensive linemen. But as we saw this past year, they get hurt very easily. And you need that depth for the O-line. I mean, you look at the two teams in the Super Bowl. What did Kansas City do after they lost in the Super Bowl to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? They revitalized that O-line. What did the 49ers do whenever they wanted to kickstart their rebuild? They traded for Trent Williams, and they revitalized that O-line. I still think you need to add guys. Even though I really like Jarrett Patterson at center, Drew Scruggs, I believe that he can develop going forward. But if you get a guy like Troy Fautanu and bring him into this offensive line room, he can play tackle, he can play guard. He's played left tackle as well. So you kind of have him in that flexibility role of whoever the best five guys at the end of Texans training camp next year, you'll be good and be able to protect C.J. Stroud. And that is my number one goal this next season. I don't want to see Stroud missing games because he got knocked out. I don't want to see Stroud missing games because he had guys sacking him left and right. So if they're able to get a guy like Troy Fautanu and really bolster this offensive line, I would absolutely love the pick. I really would, because like I said, my philosophy for this Texans team and the NFL in general, you win in the trenches. So getting a guy like Fautanu could be a step in the right direction for your Houston Texans. As always, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chugs. If you want more Texans news and rumors, I'm actually going to the Super Bowl next week. I'm going to be there at Media Row. So follow me along on my journey and go follow me at Jeremy Chugs. I'll be coming up with a couple interviews here and there, letting you know like what's going on in Media Row there at Super Bowl 58. And as always, like I said, record month this month incoming. We're 50 subs away. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube for daily Texans videos all year long, 100% free.